Alrighty, everyone. Good evening. This is meteorologist Timmy Albertson here with you guys for tonight's weather chat. It'll probably be kind of another quick one, but that doesn't mean we don't have a lot of stuff going on. As a matter of fact, we have our latest tropical system out in the East Pacific. We don't normally give the East Pacific a lot of love, so we'll take a look over there with our latest tropical system. There is an area that is being watched by the National Hurricane Center. It's east of the Lesser Antilles right now. Still trying to get itself organized, but it might very likely become our next named system in the Atlantic, maybe in the next couple of days. With that in mind, on a side note, don't have any graphics for it, but they saw some cooler temperatures, at least relatively speaking, for these areas down across parts of East Texas and northern Louisiana this morning, down into the lower 40s in some spots. Some places even got into the upper 30s. Was not able to locate any confirmed daily record lows in those areas, but some places did get pretty close. Overall, for those of you who live up north like I do, we just kind of call that fall. But down there, at least some of those low temperatures, a little unusual for this time of the year. But with that in mind, just kind of figured I would mention that. So let's go ahead and take a look over at the tropics. Ladies and gentlemen, may I please introduce you to Tropical Storm Norma. Norma right now is at least at the 5 o'clock advisory, was a low-end tropical storm with 40-mile-an-hour winds, located out in the middle of nowhere. However, recent satellite imagery is showing that Norma's actually looking pretty well here and is kind of continuing to get more organized. She is in an environment that is going to be very favorable for intensification of tropical systems. And right now, there is actually the possibility that Norma could maybe try to rapidly intensify as we go through the next couple of days. Now, obviously, with these systems, especially when they're first developing, it's a little tricky to kind of pinpoint the rapid intensification part there, even with today's computer models and everything. There, especially with early phases of tropical systems, there's tends to be still kind of a high degree of uncertainty, relatively speaking. But right now, the National Hurricane Center, with the way things look right now, is expecting that Norma will probably become a hurricane sometime by either Thursday and as we go into the day Friday, possibly getting close to the major hurricane category. Now, we've talked about this before, and for those of you who already know it, I apologize if it's information you already know, but for those of you who might not be familiar with, the Saffir-Simpson scale. This is what we use in meteorology to rate tropical systems. We do it solely based on the wind, and we do it on a 1 minute average. So, what do we mean here when we talk about hurricanes, major hurricanes, tropical storms? So, in the Atlantic, East, and Central Pacific, we use a Saffir-Simpson scale. And this is how we classify tropical systems. Now, it goes based on what we believe is the highest wind speed within there. So again, the whole system won't have those max winds, but we use those max winds to determine what exactly this system is. So tropical depression is the lowest one. And a lot of times when we have tropical depressions, we don't actually name them. We just give them a number. And so however, some systems, like Norma, for example, when they start looking more tropical, sometimes they might just get bumped up to tropical storm kind of automatically. Now, once you hit tropical storm, that's when you get your name. And even if the tropical storm weakens down to a tropical depression, it will still maintain its name. So we only name things tropical storm and obviously higher. But again, most systems obviously start out the lower end and then they intensify their way upwards. We don't normally go from nothing to a Category 5 hurricane in a few hours, normally. Well, actually, I think Wilma was one of the most rapidly intensifying systems. I remember that in 36 hours, it went from a tropical storm to a Category 5 hurricane. That was back in 2005. That was an interesting one, and it intensified so quickly. It had a very, very tiny eye. I think it was only like 2 miles wide. It looked really kind of funky. But with that in mind, Norma right now, low end tropical storm, 40 mile an hour winds. The tropical storm force winds, if you're wondering on the scale, just focus on the lower left number on each of those color blocks. Those are miles per hour. That's what we're talking about here. So tropical storm is anything from 39 to 73 miles an hour. Once it gets to 74, it becomes a hurricane. And of course, in meteorology, we love to categorize everything. And you will learn as we go on, folks, that and whether we really do categorize everything, which is kind of nice, but can also be confusing for the general public. So hurricanes we divide into 5 categories because, again, why not? Basically, 74 to 95 mile an hour winds, category 1 hurricane. 96 to 110, category 2 hurricane. Once we get to category 3 hurricane, that's what we call a major hurricane. And anything above category 3 and higher is a major hurricane. Category 4, 130 to 156. And then category 5 is anything greater than or equal to 157 miles an hour. Back in the day, I remember back when the category was 155 mile an hour winds. They changed that. I can't remember how many couple of years ago they did that. They nudged it. But anyways, there you go. Category 5 hurricane has no upper bound. And there we go. And we've seen some category 5 hurricanes in the Atlantic with winds of 185 miles an hour. Heck, like I said, Patricia back in 2015, 215 mile per hour winds. So again, category 5s, they don't really have an upper bound, but you get the idea. Wow, that was a heck of a sidetrack, wasn't it? Let's go ahead and go back over to Norma here. So again, right now, the latest advisory using satellite estimations and everything, 40 mile an hour winds, but as mentioned, it'll probably continue to intensify and may try to maybe rapidly intensify a little bit as we go through the next couple of days. So it'll be interesting to see. Right now, Hurricane Center is expecting it won't become a major hurricane, but it's going to get very close. Again, that's pending rapid intensification. So we're likely going to be seeing this turning into a hurricane is what I'm trying to say. Just how strong, though, still a little uncertain. Alrighty, everyone, let's go ahead and take a look on over at the radar imagery here really quickly. Again, not really a whole lot going on in the United States in terms of big weather systems like what we saw last week with that nice area of low pressure, but we do have yet ourselves another little friend making its way through Saskatchewan, the upper Canadian prairies there. We have this occluding surface area of low pressure. We'll likely probably see a new center trying to develop somewhere over North Dakota. This guy, not quite as strong, mainly going to be producing some rain showers as it kind of tracks its way to the east over the next couple of days. And that is pretty much kind of, at least right now, kind of the majority of the activity over the next 24 hours is just that little guy pushing its way through. So there you go. We'll talk more about this low pressure tomorrow. But again, just kind of wanted to give you all an update on Tropical Storm Norma. Norma, like I said, Norma could end up being kind of a fun one here, so that'd be pretty interesting to watch. So with that in mind, as I mentioned, there is another area of low pressure to the west of the Lesser Antilles. So it is all the way down in this area that is being watched by the National Hurricane Center. We'll see what they end up doing with it. We also have yet another area that's going to be watched down across this area. We'll see what that tries to develop into. And again, as mentioned, here is Norma's forecast track right now. Again, expected to maybe be a category 2 hurricane, but again, as mentioned, could very well maybe go a little bit higher than that. We'll just kind of have to wait and see. So, fun times, everyone. All righty. Well, that's all I got for you guys tonight. Again, we'll take more of a look at Norma as we go into the day tomorrow evening. I don't know why I said that so quickly, but I did. There you go. That's what we got going on. I hope you all have a good rest of your evening, everyone. Make sure you tune back in here tomorrow evening. We'll have another weather chat there. We'll talk more about the tropics. We'll take more of a look at Norma, and we'll see who else could be joining Norma out in the ocean this week here. So with that in mind, I hope you all have a good rest of your evening. Take care. We'll see you back here next time. Keep enjoying that weather.